So let's get started. The first one is 55. It's and Alison, would you like to read it loud?
Okay then. One who is well endowed with may be likened to a newborn infant. Poisonous insects do not sting him. Ferocious animals do not grab him. Birds of prey do not pounce on him. Bones weak, tender and soft, yet his grip is firm. He knows nothing about sex, yet his penis erects. That is because his essence is in ample supply. He cries all day but never gets hoarse. That is because he is in perfect harmony. Understanding harmony means knowing the constant. Knowing the constant means enlightenment. Indulging in good life means ill omen. Letting the mind direct chi means using force. Things that resort to force age fast. That is called going against Tao. Going against Tao brings early demise.
Great, thanks. And here, I just want to ask mention some concepts. The first is essence. There's a word essence. That word have different translations. Some translation get it as I will share my screen a little bit. You can say fertility, right? Mindlessness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some as potency.
Mm.
And you can see for here the Chinese character also in the book. I think you can see that. It's two parts. In the left part, you can say it's it's rice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other side is qin, and it's here just means how to pronounce this word. Just jing and qin, I think in the ancient times they are the same. They were the same. So and this is rice is today, but in the old times it's just like you can say this one is wood, right, or a plant. So here it's roots, and here maybe it's earth, and here are its plant part above the earth, say. And you also have 2 points here. Points, then the seeds, in fact, means the seeds. So basically, the rice in the old time is a picture of a plant with its seeds. So this jing here just means seeds or something like that. And today, sperm is also called 精子 in Chinese. So you can say basically then have a little bit about this passage. That's because his essence is in ample supply. Yeah. Any question to this?
Yeah, it's a strange English word to use if that's what they mean.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
But I mean, maybe he's trying to make it more philosophical than physical.
Hmm. And the second one is this one. He cries all day but never gets hoarse. That's because he's in perfect harmony. Uh,
Yeah, I think my daughter would query that one because she's got a young baby now. Cries all day. Yeah. 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 I mean, what does it mean he's in perfect harmony here? That the crying is in perfect harmony or what?
so I just want to also explain this word a
Mm.
little bit. So it's also a picture, and you can see these two are in fact very similar. Uh, Also with this plant's picture, like roots and the earth or the horizon and above the horizon something, but it has a head. So basically it means those, I think Getreide is German maybe, or just like, or how's that, how,
Cereals.
seaweeds,
No,
wheat,
cereals. Cereals.
cereals, or
Getreide. Wheat.
wheats.
Yeah, wheat. Yeah. Wheat is a cereal. Yeah.
Or I don't know, just like domestic plants,
Mm.
basically,
Okay.
like rice or wheat or
Mm.
something like that.
Mm. Mm.
And it's the whole plants like this. And it has a head here because usually then when it's in August, then it gets his head down, something like that. So, but here this part is only as like as the Aussprache is the pronunciation. Most important part is the right one. Is very simple. It's a picture of a mouth. So here it just means Gesang, kind of like singing. And then if two human sounds like are in consonance, then it's harmony.
Mm.
And here, Laozi seems to think a baby's cry is the highest harmony.
I'll put that one to my daughter. Her 6 month old baby that she's got at the moment. Yeah. But I mean, this her in modern Chinese is like herping to do with peace as well, isn't it? Like it's also harmony as well, but
Yeah.
and it's also the word for and.
And Skylar and Aiden, any comments?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's sort of obviously provocative to compare a crying baby to harmony. Like, yeah, that seems like, but I wonder if it's not going for some kind of like Heraclitus point about the harmony of opposites, like this sort of like the violence of war and the peace of peacetime together actually are harmony, and we just sort of like because of our prejudices we think that just peacetime is harmony or something like this. But I don't know, that might be importing things into the text.
Mm.
Yeah, linguistically, as I say, they're the same character, aren't they? The peace and the harmony. So, and I don't know at what point this came to mean peace. This character, if it meant peace in classical times or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to just do some fact check, right? So for me, this like statements say poisonous insects do not sting a baby, or this like carnivore animals don't like babies. I think that's just wrong.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's definitely wrong because yeah, animals can actually obviously take babies away. There was a very famous case in Australia years ago when a dingo dog, which is a wild dog found in the Australian desert, took a baby away. Yeah, and the mother was charged with murder. But yeah, so I think this is not true. Yes, you're right.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we can sort of, put those aside as like ancient superstition. But it is true that babies have like extremely strong grip
Mm,
strength.
mm,
Like you
mm.
can let them grip your fingers, and they'll be able to hold themselves up for an extremely long period of time, which like grown adults usually can't do.
Mm, mm.
Which is just to say, I think the spirit of the passage can be saved.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you because I mean, I've heard that, I mean, psychologically, babies have advantage in certain situations. Like, for example, if there's been an earthquake and a baby is buried under the rubble, they're not aware of what's happened to them. So they can be more resilient than someone who's older, who's aware that they're buried under rubble. And they've often dug out babies, unexpectedly who survived quite long.
Yeah.
Alison, I have a suggestion for you,
Mm.
because I think you usually very talkative unconsciously. So usually we also we need a balanced discussions. Also, like we are four people, and
Well, I'm
the
just
best
agreeing with
best is just
Skylar.
yeah. So we but in best case, just like everybody's talking time is just almost the same.
Well,
So
I finished my talking time now, so if anyone else wants to say something, they can say it.
yeah, exactly. So, please also usually consider this in a seminar. It's the balance is also important, and everybody's participation then can be equally valued. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I think we've all been speaking a balanced amount. But I appreciate the spirit of the comment. Um, yeah, I on this sort of this maybe paradoxical harmony.
Mm,
Um, it seems to me like the second section maybe builds on this uh, paradoxical aspect, or it just isn't clear to me whether this passage is trying to condemn force or praise force. Um, it seems like sort of commentators don't really know what to do with it, um, because it seems like the sentence letting the mind direct chi means using force. That sounds kind of neutral. And then things that resort to force age fast. I saw that the words for force in both lines
mm,
are different words,
mm.
but commentators take them to mean the same thing. But I was wondering if, different words are used because Lao Tzu is interested in distinguishing between two kinds of force, the force of the aged and the force of the infant, or something like that.
Mm. I think that part uh, also interests me. I think it's basically the heap of merit paradox, right? So in the end, Lao Tzu kind of like saying that the baby is the strongest of all. And here he's kind of like also say you cannot forcefully do anything. And I don't know. And also you say 强 and 壮 That's basically usually that modern Chinese are very similar. Yes, you're right. And so if then the explanation could be so any state should be naturally as it is, right? So if your qi or your breath is like this and you cannot control it forcefully, you just let it flow or something like that. So in your if you are trying to use your body too much or give too much force and it's getting old. So you should just use as it is. But then how can we set our example as a baby? Because everybody who is reading this text is not baby anymore. If you set like a standard, like a paradigm as a baby, then you are you will like logically force yourself to be a baby because you are not naturally a baby anymore.
Yeah, mhm. Is the point that sort of an adult human being just has to have a different usage of qi than a baby, and so it doesn't make sense to approach the management of qi like a baby.
Yes, how can we manage that?
Mhm.
Right? How can we?
Yeah, I also don't understand that, like, this line, letting the mind direct qi means using force. Seeing that as a criticism, which I think commentators do, doesn't quite make sense to me. Just because it seems like that, like, how else are you supposed to direct qi besides using your mind slash heart?
Mm.
But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, in the spirit of the comment, I've been talking too much, and I'd be curious if Aiden has thoughts.
I don't. I mean, I assume that when I read the sentence that this letting the mind direct chi is something like you. I mean, the idea of like direction is that maybe the chi wasn't meant to flow in a certain way and you forcibly changed it into another way, which would then like connect back to the stuff that we've been discussing last week about like intention and stuff like that. So I could see why, like, because I'm not very familiar with the idea of like chi, but I assume that there's some idea of like it doing its own thing, of like being like water or something.
Hmm.
So the idea would be maybe that you don't need to direct it in any certain way.
Yeah. Hmm.
Does anybody understand like the middle sentence? Understanding harmony means the constant. Knowing the constant means enlightenment. What could this sentence mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't have a heavy sort of interpretation of the lines, but I just want to say that these were the lines that made me want to jump ahead to 55 from 10, because we were talking about understanding. And here it seems like understanding is a good thing,
Yes.
or I wouldn't know how to, read it negatively.
And this word knowledge or understanding in the ancient Chinese, the wisdom and knowledge is the same, and it can be noun and it can be verb.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say this one. And I can also say a little bit about its etymology. The left part is an arrow. You can say the arrowhead and arrow body. Arrowhead is like this, you can see. And it's an arrow body, of course, very long, but here's short. And then the arrow has a tail, say something like that. And the right part is a mouth also. So knowledge or wisdom is a combination of an arrow and a mouth. Then it also interpretation complicated, could be an arrow, words from the mouth just like arrow, and then it get to the point, right? Or very fast out of mouth or something like that. So then in that case is a wit. And in any case, I think here, because this zhi is following of an object, so it cannot be noun, right? So it must be a verb. If it's a verb, then it cannot be wisdom, but really knowing. And this guy I translated it into understanding. And also here we don't have knowing the constant, only the constant. So he added one knowing here. Also a very problematic translation. Yeah. And he changed the like symmetric structure of these two sentences.
Yeah. I assumed he did that because the next line has zhi chang, like has. But
okay.
that's not necessarily a good argument.
Mm.
I think it's also just hard, and I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about here, but just chang alone seems really hard to translate. Like how would you want to do it? Sort of like knowing harmony is called the eternal, or something like this.
Yeah, it's called eternal, exactly.
It's called it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, or is eternal because it's or is called is a very literary and also a good translation, I would say. So it's a definition. And like harmony is this word, if we put it here, then usually, like especially Western understanding, right? Then must be two elements together, like two mouths. Mouths are singing, and then they kind of like get get consonants. But here for Laozi, we seem to see one mouth, only one stuff, and has sounds good, like oil for neem. And harmony and like eternity, how can we put them together, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But in the Greek tradition, at least, there's this idea that because harmony is has like a mathematical perfection, it has some kind of eternality to it. Plotinus says some things about harmony being some kind of predicate of the highest principle.
Mm. And like Protagoras kind of like think the whole universe is a harmony of spheres, right? And of which means they are in some mathematical ratios, basically. And then because then cosmos is constant or everlasting, and if you understand this, that's called everlasting. I think if we try to interpret in Protagoras way, it makes sense here. We can do that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that would be the only sort of guess I would have, because I don't know about sort of Taoist philosophy of music and cosmology and all that.
Yeah. And then how about the knowing the eternity or knowing the constants means is enlightenment or is brightness or clarity, right? How can that mean? What does that mean?
I'm wondering if that relates back to the first chapter, and I think the second line or the first line, like 道可道非常道. So like the way that can be called the way is not the eternal way. So there's this like the constant way. And I'm wondering, is this constant sort of referring back to the idea of like, if you know the constant here, meaning like you know the constant way, constant Tao, that means enlightenment. Or at least maybe somehow related, that knowing some form of like constant or eternal things is a path to knowing the eternal Tao.
So you mean 知常道曰明, yeah. This kind of like a Dao was omitted after the Chang, right?
Maybe, or maybe it's more like there's this relation between this Chang and the concept of like Chang Dao. So it might not be the exact same thing, but there might be a certain relation there.
Okay, I think here was helps us to understand it much more. But then I think also for me it's a huge question. What's the relationship between this and the other, the before and the following? Right? Why we have these two sentences here in the middle of this passage? Because I have the feeling somehow the first part and the part later can be like, say they are talking about the same stuff, but why we suddenly have this in the middle? It's kind of only not so related. If you can say related, it's only because they have a same word here.
I guess I don't share the confusion about the relationship between the passages. Not to say that it's entirely clear to me, but it just seems like the second part is providing understanding harmony as the sort of path towards towards the virtues and towards being like a newborn infant.
Maybe here, I think it's a good way to understand it. Maybe here, we can go back here, right? Not 道, maybe 德, say then 知常德曰明. Because in the end, I think this passage is central is this word, 德. or like virtue or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. It seems, or just looking at some of the different translations, it
Mhm.
seems like the temptation is always there for a translator to just put Dao in where
Mhm.
the character doesn't actually show up. And here, I mean, like I don't know, constant seems like it would pair more naturally with Dao than with the.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I mean, I'm super curious about what is meant by virtue. I guess we'd have to look at the other passages where virtue is discussed. But
Yeah.
also because I don't know, it doesn't seem like virtues are a thing that an infant is imbued with. Maybe that's just because I have like an Aristotelian idea of virtue as like something that's a habit that has to be developed over time, has to be cultivated. And it's like a baby just cannot be courageous. Like that's nonsense. But maybe can't be understood as virtue in that sense.
I think it's very rare people find translate into virtue, right? Some says I think de, and they understand the de like based on Dao, right? So de is kind of like um, some Erscheinung of Dao or some phenomena of Dao. And the Dao is the body itself or the substance, and the De can kind of like be its uh, phenomenon. But anyway, I think we still need to read it more because De is kind of like half of the book, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what does the third line of the second paragraph actually like? Where does it come from exactly? This indulging in good life means ill omen.
Your omen? You mean here?
Yeah, that one.
Hmm.
Wait, sorry, where what comes from? Just where the line comes from, or how it's related, or what do you mean?
Yeah. So you have like the first two lines talking about enlightenment, and then how does it exactly connect to the two lines that come before it? And
With that-
maybe how does it connect to the lines that come after it as well? Doesn't seem
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, that's exactly my question. So maybe we can say it's connected with the earlier passages because they have the same character, right? But how can we how how is this in this passage and this connected? Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the confusion was about how the first two lines of the second part relate to the first part. But yeah, this confusion makes more sense to me. I also think it's weird because the first two lines, so these first four lines, I'll use this UA construction, and the first two seem like they're obviously describing good states. And then the second two lines, at least in the commentary tradition, as far as I can tell, seem like they're expressing negative states or like states towards which Lao Tzu is critical. Um, but it seems to me like you could also just read it as a neutral description. Like the final word, uh, this word for omen could mean a good or a bad omen, right? Um,
In fact, Skylar,
yeah,
here this word "xiang" just means like I would say usually blessed.
blessed. Okay.
Yes, yes, or good fortune maybe. So here, um, all these words mean something positive, and all the so I understand this. I understood this always as positive before I read this series commentators, and because this one is just like the benefit. This one's benefit or to benefit. This one is life, right? So benefiting life is called blessedness or good fortune. And basically, these commentators, they added one none in front of this word, kind of like 一生曰不祥.
Yeah, I saw that in the Chen Guying commentary. But
Yeah.
they're just like, this word actually means its opposite, which just seems like cheating. But I don't know. You know, I don't want to disagree with experts in classical Chinese.
But I think what this says makes sense, because basically for Laozi, if you try to make your life longer, or here's maybe you can then interpret it to make it something longer, or augment or extend life, then just a lot of examples. If you want to extend your life and get to some, in Chinese old tradition, some alchemy stuff, and then you will die earlier. Basically, then because you are against the nature. And then I think in spirit, those old commentators make sense.
Well, the fourth line of the second paragraph, the last word, qiang, right? Qiang. Is it a verb or is it a noun? Because you could read it as a noun, no? Because it's translated as using force. But what if it means strong instead?
But using force is a noun, right? It's how to say that in English? It's 动名词, right? It's
Oh yeah. But
yeah.
I'm talking about like the Mandarin though, because the translation into English you would have to translate it into a noun, but in the Mandarin it could be a 动词.
Very difficult here. I think whether it's noun or it's adjective, right? Usually, if you've translated to adjective, then you can say mind leads qi is called being strong, right? Or is called strength, or something like that.
Yeah, maybe I'm just not understanding how this word means using force, like, because 强壮 it means strong, right? It means strength. How do you get from that to using force? Did it have like a different meaning in classical Chinese, or?
I think here is basically Laozi just want to turn the world upside down. So we think 强 and 壮 are good, right? But for Laozi, weak are good, better, or even good, and 强 and 壮 are bad. Basically, I think.
No, because I guess I'm just continuing this like from the earlier thought that the first two lines are positive, and then the third and the fourth line could also plausibly be read as positive, if not for the last three lines, because it seems like it's the last three lines that changes the meaning of the third and the fourth line. If you didn't have those lines, Because
Yeah.
xiang is like positive, no?
Xiang's positive, Qiang's positive. And interestingly, Laozi used the word Lao means negative, so he didn't turn it around, right? So he is not so consequent in this upside down turning. So if we can also interpret Lao as something positive, right? Since result since is strong, then it will be get experienced. So, the, all the are they should be then positive. But anyway, I read a really serious and interesting critique on Laozi. It just we all already read that passage. I think that's a very good one, a critique. Just Laozi want to remind us every positive words we use are in fact could be worse or are bad, are worse, are bad. Oh, like the word like strong, right? And also big, high, shining, like interest or something like that, and in front of all those are bad words. Which words are good? So like done are bad, and stupid maybe, and weakness are good, emptiness are good, and so on. And because water is always in the down place, low place, so water is good, right? So that's his kind of like whole argument. But the word he chose is not the lowest goodness is like water, but the highest goodness is like water. So then we can he even Laozi cannot like jump out of the Verbindlichkeit, how to say it, the innate power a word has, or how we usually use a word, right? Just in the end, he unconsciously also broke his rule, general rule there, in saying the highest good is like water, instead of the lowest good is like water. Because here he should say the lowest good is like water. Because why good water is good? Because water is always the lowest, right? So the lowest is better than the highest. Or because so I think as I read that critic, I think oh genial. So,
But
I
I
guess
mean, isn't it in that case like just two different senses of high and low? Like in the sense of the highest good, that's just meant seriously, and in the sense of water goes to the lowest place, the analog there was like a low social position or something like this, and then that low is relative just to like a social structure. It doesn't mean like he doesn't think it's low in any actual sort of value sense, right?
Heraclitan, so the lowest is the highest then, because the first lowest means social status, and the highest here means some like valuing word. I don't know.
Or that just seems like a way to make it to defend Lao Tzu against this critique that he is trying to subvert values, but he can't be consequential in this subversion of values. That
But I'm wondering,
sorry, I was done. Go ahead.
if that was not the point of it, because I feel like his point is not to have like a consequential or like constant inversion of value, so that instead of saying high, we now should say low. Instead of saying strong, we should say weak. Whereas it's like the sort of value can always flip into its opposite depending on, I suppose, a certain context, or that he wants us to look at the different side of things, but not to, because then if you were to totally invert it, you would be repeating the same mistake, but from the other side, I feel.
I think it's a very good, very, very good and interpretation. And like if we go back to 10, then we at least we can say here he kind of like elaborating what does that mean a baby is a good example, right? And also uses the word knowing as something positive.
Yeah, thanks for getting us back on track.
Allison's gone, and I think he take my critique very seriously. He took my. It's really a little bit too much. She just says something like associative and always on. If she's always talking, so it's very difficult for us to have a discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she has experience with, a philosophical seminar, so it's, I think it makes sense that she's a bit more associative, as you put it.
But anyway, if I had this feeling, it cannot go on always like that, right? And is the best way. Maybe I could call him afterwards and try to explain that, but I also doubt whether whether Alison could understand what I mean, even to have a discussion with her in a better way. But I maybe make my words softer.
Yeah, I think it's a hard conversation also to have between peers. Like if a professor tells you like that you should sort of try to make your statements more concise, then it's easier to hear that criticism. But from a peer, I think it's difficult to hear.
What do you think? Did I talk too much or too strongly to her?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was any way she was gonna receive that criticism. Well, also because it's in front of other people. Like, I don't think I would have received that kind of criticism. Well, it's just.
Yeah, and I don't think it was the first time you said it to her as well, so it might have like made it worse a bit.
Right.
Yeah. The first time I said something like Skylar, she asked something and Skylar answered, and Skylar just began one sentence, and then she began to talk again. So I said, "Hey, Alison, let Skylar answer your question," and that one was better because that situation is much more like somehow. But she also understood more in that sentence, and she kind of like more zurückhaltend hold her a little bit back. But today I just find, sorry. Anyway, it's hard.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it also raises interesting questions for you as a person who is trying to organize
Mm,
these reading groups
mhm,
outside of a sort of strictly academic setting. Like in a way, you're doing kind of outreach work to people who are not in the academic world, or I mean, Allison is a teacher, but like who aren't in the sort of like philosophical
mm.
side of the academic world. And I think there might just have to be more patience involved there, right? Unless you want to screen people and sort of say like only philosophically experienced people can come into the reading group.
It's hard, so hard.
Yeah, but I think I agree with like what Scott is saying, because if Alison doesn't get to say the sort of more associative stuff, she can't really say anything anymore.
Mm,
Although I mean, I agree that sometimes it's a bit too much, but
mm,
the sort of comment is always going to be of that type. It wouldn't be the kind of comments that we are making.
mm,
Yeah, I agree with that.
mm. So I should be like more tolerant, right? Later on, if we have other people joining like this, just try to find the balance.
I mean, it depends on what you want. It's it's
Mm.
your group. You're leading it.
Mm. I think it's also a philosophical question. I also don't know from when on I acquired such quality. Like definitely in the Humboldt University in my study, but I also cannot recall when, because or even a little bit earlier. I don't know when in my life, because if I organize stuff in Chinese, that's really hard to control, because almost everybody didn't have this seminar training, because in China it's usually only only lectures. So I kind of like learned this stuff, yeah. And then what's this, right? In fact, why we can feel that, and there seems to be some form, like a good form of conversation or a good form of discussion. Like maybe some features open-minded, and also to the point, based on the public literature or the stuff that people read us, and also like balanced and so on and so forth. Then you kind of say, wow, if you think back, there are so many factors that make a conversation good, like this conversation. And it's very hard to maintain, right? And even basically, I think that's the core for democracy also. If you don't have a high level of such conversation or discussion, and then somehow does not work, right? But this good conversation itself is so difficult. That's so kind of like aristocratic in some way. But it's so important for democracy. How can that be?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's a huge question for anyone who believes in like the political importance of a liberal arts education, or even just like a seminar-based education.
Or dialectic, right? If we put it into philosophical words, in fact, it's dialectic.
Yeah, yeah, dialogic or something.
You mean logic, but logic is a little bit different as a good way to discuss, right?
Sorry, I was just saying dialogic, like a dialogue.
Dialogic. Okay. Okay. Dialogue. Okay. Dialogue. Mm. Okay.
That's tough. I don't know. Do you think you want to send a message to Allison? I mean, I could also write something, like an apology or something. But
Yeah, I will do that. I will do that later on. I will write her a message. Yeah. But if you can write something, that would be great. So yeah.
yeah, I can write her separately.
Yeah. Just how to explain it. Just let's
Do we
go
want
back
to do
to
another
okay. Go
chapter?
ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or call it.
Chapter 11, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah, okay. Is anyone going to read it?
I can read it.
Great.
30 spokes converge at the hub. Where there is nothing, there lies what makes the cart useful. Mix clay to make a vessel. Where there is nothing, there lies what makes the vessel useful. Chisel doors and windows to make a house. Where there is nothing, there lies what makes the house useful. Thus things bring benefits. Nothingness brings usefulness.
But this line, the second last line, things bring benefits. Does that mean that in this specific context that the things that exist provide the materials so that the nothingness can make it useful? Or is he referring to this idea of like gold and jewelry and like property bringing benefit? Like, does the question make sense?
Yeah, I'm just looking at other translations. Can you reiterate the question?
How should we read the line? Does things bring benefits? Is this a reference to the material that makes up the cart and makes up the vessel, like the actual clay and the actual wheel, that then nothingness makes useful? So these things bring benefits, but then you have to use like nothingness to make it useful or something? Or is it referring to sort of the idea, I'm not sure which chapters that have mentioned like gold and silver and stuff like that brings benefits? Because I think we've seen this word li before.
So here, basically, I think you already touched the soul of this passage. Basically, is 有无用利用 right? So 有 and maybe having it or being. 无 is in non-being or not having it or nothingness or nothing. You somebody also can something also. There's also in Western philosophy, right? Together, like in the end, like if Professor Nieberger, he would say what is being is this x is a something like that. So it's just something, right? Then anyway, and li and yong is also interesting. Li is just like interest or benefits. Yong is function or usefulness or utility. and then what's the relationship between having it and its benefits, and when it's not having it and its usefulness? And I think you put it very well, going back to the room, and because we have this concrete, it kind of defines the emptiness in them. So this both being and non-being together as a dialectic relationship as a whole, then brings the benefit and the usefulness of the flat or the room to us. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think that was like my question was, are we supposed to read this Yo and Wu in a sort of dialectical relationship? Or the second interpretation would be to see this Yo as something he's criticizing, as just like benefits in the line of like good, like property and money, which is something that is not good. So I guess that was like the question I was asking, which interpretation is it here?
What do you think, Skylar?
It's just making me think of the first chapter, where we have we also have Wu and Yo, but there it's desire that is the object of the having and the not having. And there we get like without desire, we get the, I can't remember the character, the meow. And with desire, we get the jiao. And I think some people read that as like, oh, the borders, the outside, that's like, that means you get a shallow interpretation. But maybe it's even Wu who's translating it to mean like the borders, or maybe I can't remember which commentator it is, sorry. But like the borders are a very important part of a thing. Like it's critical to know the edges and the borders of something to know what it is, in addition to the meow, whatever that means, the mystery or the profundity or what have you. And I feel like, yeah, 11 could be read in the same way, where it's like both the benefits and the usefulness are goods. But yeah, I find this difficult to sort of formulate, or like with 55 too, it seems like there's a weird sort of ambivalence about strength and life. Like he seems to find it valuable or worth praising that the baby is strong in a certain way, but he also wants to criticize a different kind of being strong, or I don't know what he wants to do.
And I think here, to your point, Aiden, and also Skylar also said, I would say like this, because people usually only see what is there, right? So Laozi emphasizes more Wu than Yu. But Laozi, as you also said in the early passage, then Laozi will not do it kind of Kunsho, but just like Taiji, you know, here something begin and something also. So here, then he also does not deny the benefits that having something brings us. It's only this is so evident, then you don't need to emphasize to write something. And so you can say the most part of this passage is about nothingness, right? So that's I was my response basically.
Yeah. That's helpful for me because I've been reading some of these commentators who seem like they're sort of like woo absolutists, where it's like emptiness is the only thing that Lao Tzu is interested in, and it makes more sense to see it how you're seeing it, that it's just like the conventional way of seeing things is like substance and having things is what's good, and he just needs to focus on emptiness because the conventional way of thinking ignores it so much. That's seems very helpful to me.
Yes, especially the last sentence, right? Thus sense bring benefits, nothingness brings usefulness. So basically, I think he kind of like, so both they are like interdependent, and in the whole they are good. And for me, one stuff is really interesting, and also for the whole Chinese philosophy history, kind of like the Buddhistic tradition would use emptiness here, but the Taoistic is wu, right? Nothingness. And here in those examples Laozi put out, I would say rather this nothingness would be better if he had written like nothing, emptiness, right? Because this space, like where there is empty, there lies what makes the cart useful, right? Even better than nothing. And also, where there is empty, there lies what makes the vessel useful. And where is empty, there lies what makes the house useful, right? So it kind of like make me think of what's the difference between wu and the kong, which is one is not non-being or not having, one is emptiness.
Yeah, I think I found the comment quite helpful as well, because like if we focus on the word wu, and because I think I'm also still sort of like influenced by the Diamond Sutra, where it keeps seemingly praising this nothingness, and so I brought that a little bit into my reading of this, and at times also I was confused, like, is he praising this sort of nothingness, or is he arguing for like a more balanced view of things? And I think if we focus on like wu as actually emptiness, then that makes more sense, that it's a interrelation, like dialectical relation between being and also this emptiness.
Hmm. And the second, I think also maybe we already discussed a little bit, but now I can show you something. Yeah, the character of the benefits, the character of benefits. So now share. You can see this one. This one is the character, and I already say this. It's basically the plant of, say, rice. You can see it's just the root is here, and it's the leaves and the stem Yes, with a head already in autumn, and it's or in fall, maybe better to use because it falls down, which means the seeds is already heavy. And here it's a knife, in fact, or Hausposition, something like that, and then you cut the plants or the stuff you grow when they are ripe. So this means if you have something, then it's the benefit of something, just like, yeah. All those or the similar pictures, this one's also very, like here, the head.
I think I have to go here fairly soon. We didn't get very far this time, but I thought the conversation was helpful. Or I thought it was good. Besides offending Allison.
Yeah, I will write her a message. Or the very difficult to yeah, so next time we will begin with 12, also very interesting passage.
Yeah.
13. 13 I find is the most very difficult passage.
Yeah, I found it also difficult.
Okay.
Okay, sweet.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to next week. See you then.
Yes. See you.
Yeah. Bye.